So here's the thing, I've been painting portraits pretty much the same way for a while now. My workflow has started to feel very consistent and repetitive, and I'm not someone who does very well with a repetitive workflow. If I did, I would get an office job. And as I'm sure you guys all know, there is no better way to switch up your workflow than by doing an art challenge. Now, while looking for a bunch of art challenges to do today, I found this one that Marco Bucci did, I think 3 years ago. And I feel like it is perfect for today because it's going to help me incorporate some colors into my painting that I wouldn't normally use. Here's how this challenge works. You start with a sketch, which we already have. We did it last week. Here's that video if you missed it. But when you're actually painting your piece, you do it with the black and white filter on. And what that does is basically turn your entire painting grayscale, so you can't actually see the colors you're painting with, but you're actually painting with colors. And when Marco did his color reveal towards the end, it was actually a really cool effect. And although he paints in Photoshop, I want to see if we can do this in Critter, what we learned today, how it turns out, and what sort of process we can go through moving forward. If you enjoyed this video and learned something today, please do remember to like and subscribe. Come say hello on social media and come join my Discord server because there may or may not be an art challenge of our own coming up very, very soon. But without much further ado, let's dive into the grayscale challenge. Before we do the challenge itself, we need to figure out how to do it. I'm pretty sure the way Marco does this is by using a black and white filter layer, so that's how I first tried to do it. I created a filter layer and desaturated it, so everything I paint underneath goes through a desaturation filter and it appears grayscale. And immediately this caused an issue because I rely very heavily on the color picker tool. Seriously, when I'm old and weak, the people by my bed will be my 3,000 dogs and the color picker tool. But look what happens when I use the color picker with the filter layer on. It doesn't pick the color on the current layer, it picks gray. And I know the eyedropper tool in itself has the option to only choose from the current layer, but that doesn't work with the shortcut and the hotkey on my tablet. So instead I had to improvise and make friends with a function I have long ignored, soft proofing. This is usually what you use to check how your piece will look in different color spaces, and thankfully for us, it has a grayscale proof mode. So if we set the mode to grayscale and turn soft proofing on, it turns gray. But then I can color pick and paint and check to see if it picked the right color, and boom. You can also see the colors in the overview window, but I promise I didn't look. So what we're going to do is paint with the grayscale soft proofing on and then turn soft proofing off to reveal the colors later. Cool? Cool. Okay, so fun fact, in last week's video I mentioned how I wanted to limit the colors to black and red and things that fall in that spectrum. I wanted some sensuality, and to me the most sensual, attractive color combination is black and red together. Well, I watched Marco's video and immediately changed my mind. So yeah, today we're gonna work with all sorts of colors. In fact, I'm tempted to just give the character straight up holographic skin, honestly. But in either case, I always start by blocking in the flats for each element in the piece. So that is what I did. And then I got tempted by the puppy because look at the little scary good boy. So I gave him some dimension before moving on to the character flat. I must admit I was a little intimidated by the idea of painting the character without knowing what colors were going on under there, so I procrastinated it for as long as I possibly could and painted the floating skull instead. And then I finally went ahead and started to work on the character. As you can tell from the color wheel, I was initially restricting myself to using desaturated tones. Again, so intimidated. However, over time, I started to get more comfortable working with more of the saturated side of the color selector, and although I had no idea what colors were going on under there, my only focus was to try and nail the values. In his video, Marco says that the whole purpose of this exercise is to learn that it really doesn't matter what colors you use, as long as the values work, you'll end up with a piece that works. I must admit I was a bit skeptical about that theory, mostly because your girl has had colors go muddy. And in my opinion, that is because the colors are either the wrong temperature or the wrong saturation, neither of which you can tell when the piece is in grayscale. But we're gonna trust Marco because he definitely knows better than I ever will, so in the interest of the spirit of the challenge, I went in with more and more saturated tones. In fact, I used hues that I normally wouldn't put in the places that I put them in. So things like blues, purples, and teals in the face, or a bright yellow in the skull. So this is the piece that we have so far. Let's now go ahead and see how it turned out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, a couple of things. First, yeah, my fears came true. The colors are muddy, but maybe there's a very easy fix here. All I'm gonna do is oversaturate everything. Can't be muddy if there's no gray in it. It looks a bit of a mess. That's probably my fault, not the challenge's. I started out by trying to salvage the background. There's colors in there that I love, 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 and I wanted to save the greens and the pinks. That snake is sticking out like a sore thumb though, and it was definitely a process trying to figure out how to make it look good. So I left it alone for a bit and moved on to the character. Now here's the beauty of oversaturated tones in the skin. It allows for us to make a new layer and paint over it with some translucence. So I'm just using my chalk brush and going over the skin with a very gentle hand, and oh my god, that is starting to look so nice. I really love all those hue variations peeking through the skin. It adds just so much interest and variation. That snake was driving me nuts though, so I decided to just turn it into a symbolic piece as opposed to a realistic looking snake. The rest of the process was simply painting over everything, which I fear I may have overdone, because it looks less beautifully saturated and varied than it was when we first turned the soft proofing off. But at the same time, the skin here is so much more vibrant than I usually paint it to be. The only thing I wish I'd paid more attention to would be the lighting. I think I was so preoccupied with trying to get lots of colors in that I fully forgot to try and create dramatic light. So I had to do that in the overpaint as well. I do wonder how it might have appeared if I'd painted dramatic light with the soft proofing on. Maybe there'd be some beautiful color variation within the shadows as well. Oh, I also later decided that the floating skull was a little out of place, so I gave it a floating spine as well, and it feels a little more sensible now. But after several hours of rendering, here's the progress on the painting so far. What do you think? Now, is this going to be the final piece? Not really. I am going to go in and finish it up properly next week, just so we have a consistent look and feel across the entire series. However, I am really excited about all the things we learned today about value and color, and most importantly, the power of throwing limitations at yourself in order to level up a skill. I have, of course, left Marco's original video down in the description and up here in the cards right now. Definitely go check it out and show him some extra love for me. Have you tried this challenge before? If not, are you going to? Are there any other art challenges that you want me to play with? Let me know in the comments below and I'll check them out. And if you enjoyed this video and learned something today, please do remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out so much. We'll finish this painting up next week together, so I hope you'll join me next week. But for now, if you enjoy Marco's work, I actually did a style study on his art a while ago, so I'll leave it down here in the outro. Make sure you go check it out, because if you like his work, you'll definitely enjoy the video. But that's about all I have to say today, so thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Check out that style study down here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!